Shalom and welcome to this edition of Revealing the Truth, where we cover the headlines, the heartlines, and biblical truth. I'm your host, the Reverend Rabbi Eric Walker, and we're visiting with Ben Davies, one of the stars of the new release, Because of Gracia. We've had Chris Nasolia on the program with us, and now we're getting ready to talk with Ben Davies. Ben, welcome to the program.
Hey, how's it going, man? Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you. Ben has been acting since before he could walk. He was still in diapers when he appeared in his first national TV and print ad campaign. I know, Ben, you probably get tired of that intro, but it is true, and we've got to present the facts. Ben's been the lead role in 10 feature films, earning awards and nominations for Best Male Actor in 3 film festivals: International Christian Festival, the Attic Film Festival, and Kingdomwood Film Festival. In addition to acting, Ben is also an award-winning writer, winning Best Inspirational Screenplay in the 2014 Nashville Film Festival. He lives in Los Angeles, California, a popular public speaker, TV host, enjoys sharing his faith, athletics, and strives to be a role model to younger generations. My goodness, Ben, you have been in every big-name film, from Outrageous to now Because of Gracia, and I think it's just an extraordinary career and commitment to faith-based films. This new movie, Because of Gracia, WND, who is we're part of their network, the WND network, did a feature story on Because of Gracia, and they went through categorically and said, does it deal with teen angst? Yes. Does it deal with pregnancy? Yes. Does it deal with sex? Yes. Does it deal with drinking? Yes. Does it deal with the issue of abortion? Yes. Does it deal with all these things? And it's a faith-based film. And you played the role of a teacher fired for praying. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, I'm really impressed too that you got through that intro. That was, I don't know who wrote that bio for me, but that was definitely a mouthful.
It was a lot of best winnings in there.
yeah, no, I really appreciate that.
So what drew you to this film, and how does this match up with what your vision is for your acting career?
Well, I mean, other than the things you just talked about the movie, as far as me being drawn to it, there was, you know, as an actor, as a performer, you're at the mercy of what is presented to you. Like, the only thing you can really do as an actor is do the best of what you're given. And a lot of times, you know, you audition for projects, you know, hoping you'll just be able to get on set and be able to tell a story, but it's not necessarily the character that you're drawn to or a topic that you're particularly passionate about. So when, at this point in my career, I remember I was just, you know, going through scripts to be like, all right, well, which one am I really like feeling or whatever. But when I came across this one, I knew that it was wrestling with some really interesting topics that I didn't think had been addressed properly yet. Like, you talked about all the issues that are talked about throughout the movie. And it's funny, because those issues, it's rated PG-13, which is ridiculous. We can get into why it's rated PG-13 later. But what's so great about it is it's not like these issues are something that are contrived, made up, or forced on anyone. It's something that we encounter every single day. And what's different about this one is it doesn't shy away from any of those issues, but it tells them, it gives a great Christian perspective of how to navigate them. And so for me, I was really excited about that, but I had no idea how the story would turn out. I mean, on paper, and when you watch it too, you see all these little storylines going on, and you're like, when I was reading, I was like, how is this going to make sense? Like, there's no way this movie is actually going to be palatable to a movie theater audience to sit there and enjoy. And it truly speaks to the faith that Tom had, and just the Lord working through people that are willing to change and adapt, because the final product that they were able to get for this feature film is astounding. Like, it was nothing short of a miracle that this movie is so enjoyable, that captivates people, and that makes sense because of how ambitious it was to talk about all these different things, and to still be entertaining, funny, captivating, and moving throughout the entire story.
Ben, we met with Chris, we spent an hour with Chris, and I came away with that thinking, here is the real deal. Here's a young man who's just classically the real deal. He's only had on-screen kisses, never had his first kiss. He's had on-screen romance, but never had real romance. He's been committed to peace in the Middle East, made multiple trips to Israel. He's sold out, but so are you. And what's extraordinary about this is your commitment to your faith. You know, Tim Tebow takes a lot of garbage for his faith. I'm sure that in Hollywood, you too take a certain amount of heat because you seem to have set from Courageous in 2011 to I'm Not Ashamed to Rumors of War in 2014, War Room in 2015. Your credits read like a what's what in Christian film.
Yeah, I try to be a little bit more like Chris every day. He's a great guy. I was really happy to get to know him and see a guy that is really makes no bones about his faith and is able to talk about it. It's great to just hang out with people like that. And then also I went to school with Tim Tebow, so he is legitimately an awesome dude. But yeah, for me, it's great to be able to use the gifts that you're given to further the kingdom, especially when you get to entertain people for 2 hours. But what's great about the Christian genre is I also get to hopefully change people's lives forever too, through speaking truth about these issues and bringing people closer in their relationship with Jesus Christ. So obviously it's something that I'm passionate about, and I love going. Yeah, and you're right. There is for me, there's definitely lines in the sand that I draw. Like if there's certain scripts that I know are going to be conflicting to me that are Christian and secular. They both. Sometimes there's some religious Christian films that are taking things way too much liberty with some things and speaking stuff that I don't believe is true to the gospel. So I turn those down, as well as some secular scripts that I've come through that I'm just like I can't even go in an audition for this, But what's great about the entertainment world too is it's so broad, and there's so many different. It's the greatest medium to reach the most amount of people. Like more people watch movies and TV than anything else. So being able to get in there and be a part of even auditioning for certain projects where I get to go in, and if there's a word like if it's taking the Lord's name in vain, I get to change it. And then if they ask why, I can say, I'm a Christian, so I can't say that. But then seeing how they react and being able to start a conversation is great, as well as being on some sets that are not necessarily Christian, but being that light they've never seen before. Like a lot of the times, the echo chamber in Hollywood is so dense, where they're only being reinforced with this one belief of the world around them, but then also a belief of what a Christian stereotype is and how they must just hate them and want to do all this stuff to them. But then when I actually get to interact and have a relationship with people and get to flip that world on its head and be like, no, this is Jesus. Like, this is what it's about, kind of thing. It's just a great opportunity that, has touched people all around the world with these kind of projects.
Ben, true or false, you were the #1 recruited college athlete in track.
Where are you getting all this? Did you goof all this? No, yeah, I was. In 2007, I broke the high school junior Olympic national record. I was the #1 recruitable decathlete at the time. And that was something that I've been working out for a long time. So that was something I really thought the Lord was pushing me towards, like I'm going to be, Olympic athlete, that sort of thing. But He had other plans.
So true or false, you were the first high school athlete in Tennessee history to win the decathlon championship 4 years in a row.
That's also true. Which I didn't know if that would happen because I had a lot of crazy injuries, and but fortunately I was able to pull those out.
So you grew up in Tennessee.
That's right.
And how did you avoid the heavy Southern accent?
Funny you say that. My mother was Miss Tennessee back in the day, and she had a very heavy Southern accent. And when she wanted to get into hosting and TV stuff, they were like, "Look, sweetheart, your accent is so thick we can barely hear you." So she was trying to train herself out of the accent kind of when I was born around that time. So she helped me with my dialect, I guess, throughout it. Me, my brother, and my sister all do not have very Southern accents, which has helped me out here especially because they can tell.
You know, it's interesting. I grew up in an Eastern European home, and we were taught to speak English as native, no location. So my father learned at night school English with a New York accent. And
New York accent.
New York accent. So as we were growing up, I grew up in Pittsburgh, and so we were to grow up with no. You shouldn't be able to tell where I'm from based on my enunciation. So it's interesting. So Best Actor winner in the Mid-Tennessee Film Festival for Vindication.
Yeah, that was a great project too. I mean, I don't know if you want to talk about other projects, but the Vindication was great because it was right after I'm Not Ashamed, which is one of my favorite movies that I've ever been able to put out. And it was a short film, and I don't know if I'd do it or not, but the message was so strong, the story was so dense, and it was like 26 minutes of just like truth and drama and awesomeness. And this guy made a 26-minute short film that was so well received and so captivating. They're turning it into an entire series, like that's being picked up and looked at by multiple outlets. So that was just another example of the Lord like working in these new projects that you're talking about, just the change of the genre and us kind of getting into these new fields where that Vindication is almost like Law and Order meets Bible. So
Yes.
it's really, really cool, yeah.
Right. Let's go back to Because of Gracia.
Yeah.
Tell me the process. How does a project come to you? How do you evaluate a project? Does it come through your agent? Does it come directly to you? Or is there a kind of a inner network of people who chatter? And when Gracia came to you, you gave a little bit of initial reaction, how they're going to pull this whole thing together, because it just seems to be end to end. It is end to end, and it's more epic than it could possibly be in a 90-minute or whatever the length is, 78 minutes, 80-something minutes. It would have to be a 4-hour Ten Commandments kind of thing in order to cover all of this life span and issues and to fully develop all those issues. So take us back to the genesis of a project so we can see how a lead actor like yourself gets put into a project.
Yeah, I mean, what normally happens is people reach out to my agent or manager and they pitch the script and then go that route. And then sometimes, well, I mean, a lot of times I'm constantly also auditioning for the projects. Like there's a lot of people starting up new stuff, so you're auditioning too. But frequently too, people will just send stuff directly to me. There's occasionally where you meet the same people and you're talking about projects like, look, I want you to be on this. And that's happened too with other projects. But it really is it's a long endeavor. Like when people, I have so much respect for the filmmakers that are there from conception to the final product of like writing the script, coming up with it, because it can be a 10-year process. Like you probably talked with Chris and Tom Simons about it, but Because of Gracia started like 10 years ago to get the script where it was, and then started filming 3 years ago, and then now it's finally coming out. So, I mean, the way that they've shepherded and raised the project to get it to where it is, I think it's phenomenal. But for me, as a lead actor, it was, it was so funny. They reached out to me. I first auditioned for Chase's role, and I'm a little bit older than Chris, and I did the audition. It was a really good audition. They really enjoyed like what I was doing with the character. They were like, there's this other guy that we think you would play really well off of. Like, would you be interested in auditioning for this other role as well? And I was like, yeah, sure, because it was a good story. And I was like, you're not always the best. You're not always sometimes you're just not right for the character kind of thing. And that was just, which is great that they had the discernment to be like, all right, we're not just going to throw Ben in whatever. Like, we want the best path for him and the best path for this other character. So, and Chris booked the role of the other one. So it was so funny being on set because I'd never met Chris at the time, and it was interesting to see. I was like, okay, well, let's see what this guy who's carrying a heavy load, a lot of scenes, a lot of stuff. I'm like, let's see what he's got. I had like almost this mentality because I'm a competitive guy from sports. I'm like, all right, I really want to see what this kid can do. So the first scene that I actually saw Chris on was, have you seen the movie? There's like
I have.
Okay, so the spoken word monologue in the classroom was the first scene that I saw him in. So I'm sitting back, and anyone that's seen it, it's just like that's one of the most powerful monologues in any movie I've ever heard. It's like up there with the end of Blade Runner or something. Like it's just great. So I'm like sitting there, and he's just crushing this monologue, and he only did it in like it was like 1.5 takes. I think there was something that happened right in the middle of one, then went back and started over, and I was just like, man, the Lord's working in this. And it was great to hear him talk about that too, because I interviewed him a year later with TBN and Juice TV, and he was saying that it felt like the Holy Spirit was literally like there with him in the scene, and you could feel it. It was awesome to see.
So the project comes to you through an agent.
Yeah.
You then read the script. And from there, you make a decision as to whether or not you want to pursue auditions for it.
Yeah, it depends on if they're looking. Sometimes there's like a pool of like actors of male leads they like. Same thing that happens in Christian movies. And sometimes they'll be like, all right, which one do you feel like this is a character you can pull off kind of thing? And then you audition and sometimes even test the scenes. So, because you just never know. Someone could be a great actor, but this specific character, they're just not quite it, even though they're good actors. So a lot of times, too, then you'll just audition the part and just so they can see what they've got kind of thing. But very oftentimes, too, they just like, look, we've seen this guy in this movie. We like, just do that here kind of thing. And that's happened with several projects I've been a part of as well.
Did you find this to be a somewhat of a transition role? Excuse me. Somewhat of a transition role from you being the young guy to moving more into the next level of not middle age, but in the because you were a teacher in this, not the student. So
right.
you're kind of making the transition into this new season of, and I'm fascinated because I've watched several shows where people playing 18-year-old characters are 30, 32 years old, and I'm astonished because I like to look at that. I have a perception of how old they are. They play the character well, and I look, they're a Canadian actor and they're 37 years old. And I'm going, what? So how do you hold on to that, and when do you make the transition?
Well, it's not something that I consciously, I'm like, all right, I'm only auditioning for 25 and up now or anything like that. Like, it just depends on the project and who they're casting around you. Like, even because of Gracia, I think the average age of everyone was like 22. And then, it's still high school. It just depends on the cast around you and the project. But, I mean, I'm really excited, too, because I've been fortunate to do a lot of roles, and most of them have been at 18, like high school. And so I'm excited to see like the genre of the ones that are more like adult, like Vindication and Because of Gracia and Rumors of Wars. It was all just like a little bit older. So it's really cool to have been able to do both and experience both, because there's great stories to tell in both of those categories. Like there's so many things in high school that I think are really important for people to tackle. And then also in these adult ones, obviously the stories are endless as well. So it's really cool to be able to do both. And it's not something that I consciously do, but I audition for both. Like I've booked roles where I'm 30, I've booked roles where I'm 18. So and that's just going to slowly slide and be less and less as I continue to mature and get better in my craft as an actor.
Now, the role you play, Mr. Brady, a former high school athlete and Olympic hopeful who has a shoulder injury. Now, was this the role before you were in it, or the character before you were in it, or did they shape the character to more of your background, which was you were a college athlete, you had a shoulder injury, and it affected your career as a professional?
Yeah, the Holy Spirit's amazing. No, it actually did. He didn't just write that and then I jumped in. But what's great is that the Lord did lead him to kind of bend the characters to the cast that he had. Like Mariah and him worked pretty hand in hand, like changing even some of her dialogue where she was like, I don't feel like I would do this. Can I do this? To make it more natural on screen. And you can see even for her first time as an actress how natural and captivating she was. And for me, he did similar stuff too, where he was like, look, I know this is Ben, this is who he is. It's not going to change the story of my character, but it might change it for him in a few ways. And so he changed the story to adapt it more to my body type, like, all that kind of stuff. Like, all right, let's maybe former athlete, he's a little more competitive, he's a little more upbeat kind of thing. And I was like, all right, cool, let's do this thing. So he did a good job of also making it a really good environment for the actors to perform in.
So this was a role that you could enter into because you could relate to the circumstance and project some of you. As a believer, taking on another persona, what are some of the spiritual implications of you being somebody else? Is that open up some spiritual door? Does that cause us to take on something that is, I'm not really sure how to put this, but does it open up, is there something that can come in these roles that...
I think that, well, for me, acting is so, like, I remember one of the quotes from, who was it? I think it might have been Terry Catt, was saying that I don't care how good of an actor you are, you can't fake the Holy Spirit, because it's such an intangible thing that you can't describe to someone that's never experienced it. So for me, I don't know necessarily specifically acting as someone else with a different faith is going to change it, unless outside of the character, I'm going to delve into the scripture from a different point of view. Like if I'm playing someone that's really hurting and I'm digging into scripture, like those scriptures are going to mean something a little different to me. So it's going to change my spiritual perspective. But I don't think it's something that if I'm going to just play a different religious character that I'm going to be able to know what spiritually that's going to be like, because it's such a true and personal thing that's going to happen. I remember, like, specifically for another project, I was method acting and I was living as a homeless person for a little bit, and I had never really, because for me, when I dig into scripture, I see like power and strength and glory. That's just like, that's kind of like my relationship with God kind of thing. But I'd never been like in the gutter and like what that experience would be like. So when I had people come up and kind of be friends and be Jesus to me, like reaching out and trying to help me, I was like, wow, like this Lord is so loving, because we were always in the trenches too, like in the ditch. And so like that really changed my perspective of, and also in my relationship spiritually too, doing something like that. For this particular role, it was playing the mentor, being able to give advice is something that really helped me through my own high school and college career. I can like pick out these two guys that really mentored me and helped me. And so I had that experience to draw on, while also, you know, knowing what it felt like to kind of be Chase's character and be insecure and be like afraid to speak up and speak out. So, yeah, so spiritually, I think that's kind of the world that I lived in there.
You know, you draw on life experience, you draw on scriptural characters to formulate who you're going to be and who you're going to represent. Was there a particular Bible character that you could relate to that you projected in this film that if I were to hear you say it, I would go, oh, now I see it?
You know, I didn't do that preparation for it. I didn't pick a Bible character to relate to, but I think that would be a really powerful tool to especially teach like young Christian actors, because the characters in the Bible are so diverse. Like you can almost tell any story out of them, and it is a specific technique in acting as well that people use. There's even like where you find like a specific person and replace it. It's called Stanislavski acting technique. And there's even people that seriously do this out here, where when you get a character, you pick an animal and you try to project that animal character, which is to me is just super weird. But I mean, that's something that people really do for training out here. So I think it'd be much more helpful to do that, to actually pick a Bible character and kind of mold it through that. I think that'd be a great way to do it.
It sounds like it's fun, and it gives you something to talk about as you begin to almost manifest that character and be able to point it out. Where I don't know if you're doing Bible studies on set or if you're have that kind of time together to really relate. But it sounds like a great way to morph into a study that you do on set. I'm sure that people would love to have a book or, you know, devotions from Because of Gracia, or devotions from Fireproof, or devotions from, you know, things you did on set, because we don't really know. We don't know about the wait time. I've done projects and I know you got a lot of downtime. There is a lot of waiting time. There's a whole lot of stuff. And I can imagine, now that I'm a believer, Bible studies on set, and what would come out of it related to the script, related to the characters, related to any of that, would be fascinating as an add-on study guide or looking at the message of the film. I know that others have developed from Fireproof and from War Room and films like that, but thinking about from the actor's perspective, might be quite interesting to develop that as a collaborative work, kind of something you guys do to memorialize the cast, and interesting project to consider. We're talking with Ben Davies, actor extraordinaire, playing the role of a teacher who is fired for praying in the movie Because of Gracia. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll visit some more with Ben Davies. We'll be right back. Shalom. I'm the Reverend Rabbi Eric Walker, Executive Director of Igniting a Nation and host of the daily TV program Revealing the Truth, seen live every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Central Standard Time at www.ianbn.com, and then replayed throughout the day and night via our website. All of our segments can be seen on the Igniting a Nation YouTube channel. Since our launch in January of this year, we've expanded our global reach to over 54 countries with a social media following of over 125,000. Our commitment is to bring you the most in-depth interviews with authors, subject matter experts, and thought leaders from around the world. We have interviewed guests from Israel, Brazil, England, India, and all across North America. All of our authors are featured on the Books and Media page on our website, www.ianbn.com. There you can find a direct link to the book you want to order, and we receive a small commission directly from Amazon. There is no cost to you for this service. In addition to our daily teachings and interviews, we make available to you the archive of all of the interviews on our YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram channels. Our live program is available from our homepage, and there is never a charge to you for any of this access. We made the decision long ago that we would remain a commercial-free resource that would not be influenced by any pressure from any outside company. There are only two ways that we are able to continue to operate this ministry and provide you with the only live 4-hour daily Christian television talk show program. The first is through your support and tax-deductible contributions to Igniting a Nation. These can be made directly through the donate button on the website or sent through the mail to Igniting a Nation, 2700 Corporate Drive, Suite 120, Birmingham, Alabama, 35242. The other way we support the program is by offering you a unique opportunity to have access to over 10 years worth of teachings on a subscription basis. The teaching archives contains all of my prior sermons, Torah studies, prophecy in the news videos, and much more for the low subscription price of $5 per month. This subscription grants you unlimited access to over 800 hours of content not available elsewhere and is updated weekly with the most current prophecy classes. In addition to 20 hours of original TV programming each weekday, we invite you to join us live every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday evenings for our Prophecy in the News classes. The times and locations are listed on our events page on the website www.ianbn.com. Every day, you and I are faced with the challenge of where we will go to hear the truth. We are committed to bring you the only program of its kind that covers the headlines, the heartlines, and biblical truth. We cannot do this without your support. Since we launched on January 5th, 2017, we have aired over 300 individual teachings, interviews, and commentaries not available anywhere else. We are now working side by side with almost every major Christian publishing house to bring you the most in-depth feature interviews possible. Our 1-hour features address every subject that affects the believer's life. We are hearing of salvations from the Middle East, Africa, and all across the United States. Lives are being changed every day, and we have only just begun. Our mission is to become your trusted resource and grant you access to the people, tools, and information you need to grow in your relationship with the Lord. You can help us by liking us on social media and through your financial support. We know you have many choices in who you support, but we are prayerfully asking you to consider helping us keep revealing the truth, true to our calling, to cover the headlines, the heartlines, and biblical truth like no other program available. Donate today and help us bring the message to the four corners of the earth. Visit www.ianbn.com and donate, buy a book, or subscribe to our teaching archives. Without you, we do not exist. Shalom and welcome back to this edition of Revealing the Truth, where we cover the headlines, the heartlines, and biblical truth. I'm your host, the Reverend Rabbi Eric Walker, and we're talking with Ben Davies, who is now in the starring role in the movie Because of Gracia. Ben Davies, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Ben, we were talking before we took break about on-set life and what things take place and what transpires in these waiting times. As you're developing relationships on set, do these relationships carry on afterwards?
Oh, absolutely. And then speaking to the setup because of Gracia, too, it's funny how everything kind of trickles down from the top on sets, right? It's like the director has, if he is in a good place and he is that leader and the great, he really sets the tone for everyone else. It kind of trickles down through all the different departments, the gaffers, the grips, and all that kind of stuff to get to the actors. And it was a testament to him how well everything and everything went on set, as well as the relationships that were formed, like the people, like especially the Mean Girls and stuff. They were doing like worship and like between takes and stuff. It was really, really cool. I haven't seen that on set in a while, and not all sets are like that. But you really can tell and can feel when the set is genuine, like when the message is genuine. And this was definitely one of those stories. And so I was really happy to be working in that environment. And I forgot the second part of that question. You're talking about the set first. What was the second part of the question?
Building the relationships afterwards.
Oh, afterwards, yeah. Okay, so that's like one of the best things and one of the most bittersweet parts about working on a set, because when it is great, like when it is working and the people are vibing, I mean, it's so tough to leave. It's like leaving this family and this community that's formed. I mean, it really is like a small city that just like help each other and work together to make this like one beautiful product. And so when you do leave, it's so bittersweet. But I was fortunate that I kept in touch and had great relationships with multiple people on set, specifically Macy McLean. She plays Amy in the movie, and we had this one scene where she's kind of like manipulating me and using me to put me in a bad situation, and it was great because the very next project that me and her both did was a big motion picture that made a bunch of money at the box office. I'm Not Ashamed. So me and her are still super tight. Like we worked together again this summer, as well as Celine, the girl with the yellow hair, like the
yes.
We shot a movie this spring as well. It's a very great pro-life message movie as well, and I really look forward to working with everyone again, hopefully on that set.
You played this character in a film that wrestles with abortion, freedom of speech, bullying, and you're kind of caught in the crossfire in all of this drama and dynamic. What was that like for you, and what did it do from a standpoint of opening your eyes to some issues that you might not have been as intimately familiar with as you needed to on this film?
Yeah, I think what's great is when you're in that is this terrible, you feel like, this is turmoil everywhere, and all these people around me are going through all this craziness. What's great is when you're in the middle of it, you can reach everybody, you can touch everyone because you are available, and all that's going around, but you have the opportunity to make a difference in each one of those people's lives. And I think it was really some of the stuff that really opened my eyes in this movie was the way that the dialogue is handled. There's a lot of movies that have come out that, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just the way the stories are structured. You need an antagonist, you need a protagonist, you need a good guy and a bad guy. And a lot of times in Christian movies specifically, they take the easy route and they're like, well, anyone that's not a Christian is a horrible person, and we're going to make them the villain, or like the atheist or whatever. What's so great about this is you have people that have differing opinions that are, they struggle with their own issues or whatever, but like different opinions on very specific and tough topics. Like in the debate class, they're talking about single motherhood, they're talking about drugs, they're talking about religion and creation versus evolution, like all these big topics. But what's great is you hear their argument, and then you can give the counter argument. And you don't always. What's great is God is the author of truth. Like truth is going to win. You just got to. There's an argument that's fake, that's false, and you give the counter argument that is truth. People will slowly receive that, and I think that the truth will seep in. And it was done in a respectful way in class. It's not, we're not going to win people's hearts by just screaming at them and punching them in the face. You just got to lovingly be like, hey, look, I understand where you're coming from, but let me give you this bit of truth here, and you get to see that. And then in this movie as well, you get to see people that you would think would be the bad guys that end up being the hero, and their lives are changed because of the way that the specifically me and the other teacher, the way that we were interacting, and his relationship with me and the respect that he has for me. And he ends up, getting to step out and completely changes his life. So I love the way that was addressed, especially in this incredibly polarizing time that's so frustrating, where you feel like if you say anything that contradicts the mainstream belief, then you're like a horrible person or something like that. So I love the way this did it, where you're like, okay, let me give the counter argument in a very respectful, loving way, and I really hope you can receive this. But it's not like there's nothing that I can't make you believe this or convince you, but it's done in a way that you're planting those seeds and you're speaking truth, and slowly that truth is going to take hold, because God is the author of all truth, and if you're doing it right and you're speaking the truth, it's going to make sense. It's going to make sense. And so I love the way that Tom did that in this story, and it's the first time I've ever seen it presented in that way.
You know, I have more I want to talk about Grazia, but as I'm thinking about this, you live in the Hollywood, Los Angeles world.
Yeah.
How are you perceived by, I hate to call them mainstream actors because you're a mainstream actor, but the secular Hollywood versus the Irwin Brothers Hollywood, and the, you know, there's kind of two now, and it's becoming more of a divide. How is that received? Is there criticism? Is there condemnation? Is there this labeling and shaming that goes on all the time? Are you a bigot, racist, homophobe, Islamophobe? Are you all those things that they continue to hurl at all of us?
You know, it's a really interesting topic, and it's something that needs to be addressed because it's a mix of both. And like that's the thing is, I think a lot of times we get scared of stepping out and going to Hollywood and being a part of other projects. Sometimes it's because we feel like if we take a certain role, then the whole church is going to hate us, even or we're too afraid just to go to Hollywood anyway because we think we're going to be like oppressed and like how are you going to keep your faith? But there is also the other side of it as well, where legitimately, like because you're living in a subjective industry, right? It's not like sports where if you run this fast in the 100, you're the best and you're going to win the gold medal. In this one, you could be the best actor, but they just don't like you as much, or they like, oh, you know what? He's one of those people. Like, well, let's go with this other guy. He's just as good, kind of thing. It's all opinion based, right? But I've experienced both. I remember being in an acting class, and this was so telling for me because, you know, it's the little things that stick out. But I was in acting class, and it was prestigious. Everyone was stressed out. Everyone wanted to do the best. And I was up there, and the teacher was like, all right, say this word and then say your line. But it was like taking the Lord's name in vain. I was like, I can't say that. And she's like, oh, why? And I was like, oh, I'm a Christian. She's like, oh, that's totally fine. Just say something else. It's fine. Like it's all good. And I was nervous to even say that. But she was like, oh, that's great. Like, I don't care. Like, whatever. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, this really prestigious acting coach totally respected my beliefs, my opinions there. And then after class, a girl came up to me and she's like, look, I'm so like, you just totally inspired me. Like, I'm a Christian. I was what you did, like that stance was huge. And I was thinking, like, not taking the Lord's name in vain. Like, how is that a big deal? It was really interesting to see, like she was so scared. And I thought, like, you know, maybe she'll care, like, whatever. But you can see that, you know, a lot of people out here are totally fine with you believing what you believe. But also, there's a lot of people that don't. So it's like you have to treat everyone on an individual basis. There's not just a sweep of like everyone out in Hollywood that's a producer is just going to be a horrible person that hates Christians. But if you treat everyone as an individual the way Jesus did, you know, Samaritans, Jewish people alike, like this is, I think that's the way that we have to approach these kind of things. And like I said, I mean, there's some taboos too where people in the church are like, well, you can't go to Hollywood because you're going to go to hell basically if you go to Hollywood too. So it's like, you know, the church has got to start supporting its own people and like helping them out there. Because you're right, there's Hollywood, and then this other one is rising up. But like, we have to be able to discern, like, okay, these people are doing this for the right reason. Like, let's go support them. Let's write more for them. Let's go support them in theater so we can elevate this. Because if not, the people out here also do the same thing. Like, we like our own people, and we're going to cast them in every single show over and over and over again because we just know they believe what we believe as well. So it's a mix of like breaking into that industry and also supporting the people in this one.
Well, you know, Gracia does feature a new actress.
Yeah.
You know, Chris has played these kind of roles before, but took a very long hiatus from roles because he was very selective about what he was going to do. Now, what's interesting about the story you just told about not taking the Lord's name in vain, in the film, Chris's role, he struggles with sharing his faith openly.
Yeah.
Now, you grew up around Tim Tebow, who wasn't ashamed.
He was pretty outspoken, yeah.
Yeah, he was pretty outspoken. And you had to find your own way into how you were going to speak out, what stands you were going to take, and how you were going to present the fact that you are a strong believer, that you have a moral compass that's biblically grounded. In this movie, you actually need to encourage, you need to play a role in supporting Chris's character with this issue of struggling. How do I take a stand? How do I speak out? So
Yeah.
what did you draw from personally for that? And on the other side of that, what did you learn and take away from that experience?
Yeah, I mean, that was something that I struggled with in high school as well. Like, just you're so it's such like a heightened situation where everything feels like it's the end of the world, because it's like the only world you've ever known is these people and these like weird relationships that are always like tough to navigate in high school, and you're just like you're stuck with these people, so you don't want to do anything wrong because you're like, oh, it's going to ruin my life in high school, that sort of thing. And that's something that I for sure struggled with. That it's tough, and I did the exact same things. Like, I don't know if I want to speak up because, one, I don't want to start drama and make things harder for me, but two, like or what does it matter kind of thing. And that's something we have to shake off, because we have to be able to step out and speak openly. That was kind of what the whole movie was about, was finding your voice and having that open dialogue and being able to like come together and create something that's much better than what we've been doing, currently. And also, but I also know the people too that have like already established themselves, that are strong in their faith, that are a little bit older, more mature, mentoring those people to help them. But at the end of the day, still, it's going to come down to you as an individual. Like, no one's going to be able to give you the courage to step out and say something. Like, you're going to have to do it. And the thing is, like, what is the worst that's going to happen? Like, I mean, as long as you're treating people like lovingly, with respect, the way Jesus would, and you're like sharing your faith, being able to talk about it, like what's the worst that's going to happen? It's going to fall on you as the individual. I think a lot of people also fall in the trap of, well, like, no one helped me or encouraged me, so I'm just not going to say anything. Well, you just acknowledged that you should have, and that you were aware of it. So like, why don't you just do it? I think too, it's kind of our culture of, well, it's someone else's fault. It's not on me. But it's always it's between you and God. Everyone's an individual, but we should also know that people are going to be struggling, that have trouble, with insecurities and things that have happened in their own lives, and we should be able to go out of our way to help those people, like mentor, like Brady did with Chase, and being like, come on, man, you got this, you got this, you got this. But at the end of the day, it's going to be his decision. So I think it's a mix of both. I think it really is.
Certainly I've seen Dove Award shows. I'm not an Oscars fan, but now that this genre is now growing in popularity and profitable box office hits, there are financial successes within the Christian film market. Is there a category in the Oscars for this particular genre?
No, I don't think there will be. I think everything's too divisive right now. The thing is, the people are not that far apart. Like, it's just because it's just been so inclusive in Hollywood for so long, and I think the church has been pretty like exclusive for a long time, where we're just like, no, we have to do our own thing. We're not going to like reach out to people. That it's created that divide, and the media just being like, all these people hate you, all these people hate you. If you just go across the street and have a cup of coffee with one of those people, like, you would probably be totally fine. You know what I mean? So unfortunately, I don't think that's what needs to happen. But I don't think there is going to be a category that would open up. But I think things like the Dove Awards are still great. And I'll be at the Dove Awards this year. We have a movie, I'm Not Ashamed, that's nominated with The Shack and Ben-Hur and some other ones. So I'm really praying that we could be able to pull that one out. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be us just kind of like raising up and showing like, look, I understand that people in Hollywood really like making movies like this, but this is what we're going to see. This is what we're going to support. Every time that people always say, like, oh, I want more of these movies, right? Well, how many of these Christian movies have you actually gone out and see and supported? Because you literally cast your vote for what you want to be made next by each ticket you buy. And each time you share it on Facebook, and each time you buy the DVD and all that kind of stuff, you're casting your vote for what you want made. And so, like, I hope people will just be more selective with the movies they watch in theater. Because you can watch, I'm not saying you just watch Christian movies at all. Like, there's great movies out there where we should support, like, good actors that are, also believers that are doing other projects. And just great movies anyway that we can all enjoy and take stuff from. But specifically, if you're like, all right, look, I want more movies like this, that's a well-made movie with a good message that I support, go out of your way to support that movie.
Well, it's extremely important that they know that hashtag because of Gracia is the Twitter site for this fabulous film. It touches on so many areas of young people's challenges today, and it is the youth of America that's going to turn this country right side up or upside down. Yeah. And as we look at people coming to faith before their 18th birthday, we know that this is the time to capture this heart and this zeal and this understanding. It's not that we're trying to raise up youth that are conformed to a certain way, because I think the youth of today are freer, but they're also free in their expression of worship, and they're free in their expression of how they gather together at the flagpole. They gather together in these stadiums, as they gather together for Worshipalooza as opposed to Lollapalooza. There's just so many new things that are exciting for young people today. We didn't have that in the 50s and 60s. It wasn't we weren't. We were the generation that was supposed to be seen and not heard. And by the time the 60s came around, we said, well, we'll show you. And so we made ourselves heard in all the wrong ways. In the film, there is this question you asked the class: who is the most influential person in their life? Who was the most influential person in yours?
Well, I mean, it's going to be the answer that I was looking for also in the movie. It's going to be Jesus Christ, because everything is shaped around that foundation. And I think once, once you have that foundation, it seeps in every area of your life too. Like I was talking about, we were talking about truth earlier, like all these issues that they even talk about in the movie. If you have that foundation, the right answer you're going to lend towards anyway with either one of those arguments. And I would say in a physical sense, obviously my parents, because I'm really close to both of them, and they raised me well, and we have a great relationship. So on a physical, personal level, parents, and then but on a literal level, Jesus definitely all the way.
So on a personal level, is there a girlfriend in the picture?
Oh, I'm married.
Oh, you're married.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I found her and wifed her up quick. Yeah, we've been married for 3 years now, so it's been great to navigate this crazy life with someone that's so fantastic. That can help me through all the highs and the lows of acting and entertainment. And so it's
tell us where you met, how you met her, and what she does.
Yeah, we met at the. I went to the University of Florida. We were Tim Tebow when we won the national championship that year. I ran track, so we didn't interact that much. But anyway, I went to the University of Georgia after that, after an injury in my shoulder, and then I went to Samford University, which is a Christian Baptist college. It didn't have a very good football team, so I was like, all right, I'm going to go back to the Florida-Georgia football game so I can see all my friends. It's going to be great. I went down there and bumped into her out of nowhere, and then we hit it off, and then started dating a few months later, and then things happened pretty quick after that. So that's how it happened.
Good. And so your parents still in Tennessee?
Yeah, they are. They're still in the Southeast. I'll be going back to the Double Words. I'll get to go there and see them here in a couple weeks.
That's great. Now, you went to Samford here in Birmingham.
I did.
So you know the turf very well. You ever get back to Birmingham?
Not very often. I still have a good relationship with some people down there. They've talked about doing some screenings, developing their film program, and also having me speak. So I've been in conversation, but I haven't actually gone back down there in a while.
Well, good.
But it's a great place. I like Homewood a lot.
Yeah, if you come, we'll have you in studio and catch up with you. So what's the next project on the horizon for Ben Davies?
That's a great question. Actually, there was a really cool project that we were shooting. We were going to shoot in Nepal about some missionaries that in the early 2000s. Really, it was a crazy story, but that's been pushed back. And then right now, it's just getting these other projects kind of moving. I'm still there's a couple that are going to be released, or the trailers will be out soon. But right now, I'm either pushing movies and scripts that I want to get these going. These stories have got to be told, kind of thing, and just auditioning. So I'm kind of in between all those right now.
I'm sure the question people want to know the answer to is, how do actors get paid?
Well, you get paid by the producers. That's how it happens most of the time. And also going on speaking stuff, Courageous did tours and stuff, and I've flown in and spoken at youth events and FCAs and churches and that kind of stuff. So doing that, and then also just getting the next role. That's kind of the name of the game. I'm also going to be doing movie reviews too with a media outlet that I'll be announcing soon. So doing stuff like that, just staying in it and staying in that genre. I think movies are so important, and this generation is going to need good ones.
Getting back to Because of Gracia, what's the most important thing for people to take away? What's the core message that if you did a survey of people, what would be the response that you would want to hear most?
I would say that everyone has a voice, and the Lord wants you to use it to glorify Him, and that's what I think. And that rings true not just when you're arguing apologetics, but the way that you treat people, the way that you talk to people, the way that you interact, the ideas that you give people, all those kind of things. Your voice is so powerful, and like I know that Satan either wants you to use it for evil or to hide it under a basket. So don't do either one of those things. And I think this movie does a good job of showing, like it's not always easy, but you can see like the reward of it, and then also it gives you great arguments and examples to use when you get into those situations. Like that, the movie does a good job of showing, when someone brings this up, what's something you can say, what's something you can do. And I really hope people take away that everyone can have an influence with that.
I'm so thankful that actors like yourself, like Chris, are out there bringing a whole new side of legitimacy to the Christian film genre, that are tackling real issues, not trying to make it so so spiritual that it doesn't have any practical application, that it's so dry that it doesn't embrace the reality. We all face challenges in our walk with the Lord. There are influences bombarding us at all times. We're in the most electronic age possible, with technology dividing people, not unifying people. The church is as fractured as it's ever been, with messaging that's all over the place. There is no sense of unity. The body of Messiah is a house divided against itself. And so the things that can unify us back to a family, back to talking points where we can reach our children, our grandchildren, our family with a set of values that says, this is how. Do you remember this character in Because of Gracia? This is how you can handle these kind of things. Does this represent reality? And it does represent reality. Are these real core issues that our teens are facing in high school today? Because of Gracia hits on just about every one of them. There's none that are not tackled. There is premarital sex. There are drugs, alcohol, talk of abortion. There is rejection. There is fear. There's identity crisis. There's bullying. There's so many of these topics which are covered in a true drama. And the drama unfolds, but the core message is the same. You're exactly right. We have a voice. And we can use the voice for evil, or we can use the voice for good. And because we use the voice for good doesn't mean that we are abnormal, that we are some kind of Jesus freak, that we can live our lives for the Lord and be good people, be good examples, be life speakers, not death speakers, and be the kind of people that other people want to be around, because it honestly makes us more likable, not more offensive.
Exactly. Yeah, I think Gracia definitely embodied that as well. Like, it wasn't, people weren't drawn to her because she could quote all the Bible verses. It's because she treated everyone the way Jesus would treat everyone else. Like, she was trying to emulate that. But she was also uncompromising when the time came, and people would respect her for it because they knew who she was. And I think that's so important. And you're right, with the church being so fractured, I think we so get wrapped up in these like little things that will divide us, when like at its core, like, is Jesus there? Like, let me focus on that, because even in movies like this, like the Christian movies that people will slam, like even in this movie, when people saw like certain people saw like a glass of wine, they're like, how could you put that in the movie? I'm not going to support this. I'm like, do you see like the larger picture here? Like, can we just all like Jesus? Let's get to this. Okay, let's get into that. I think we get so wrapped up in these little things we let divide us, and I think this movie, you're right, I think it does a good example of bringing all those home, and gives a good example of what to do in all those situations. So I really hope that people, when they watch Because of Gracia, hopefully in theaters or on DVD when it's released, can find those truths and latch onto it, and not be distracted by the stuff that happens in the movie, because the stuff that happens in the movie is real. I think it was really telling, like the people that were stumbling and falling, a lot of them were pushed even farther away because of the people that were so religious. They're like, well, forget you, like, how dare you do this? And then it was, because of Gracia and Chase coming back and be like, hey, look, are you okay? Like, I want to help you through this. Like, that was the difference, not the people pushing them away. So I really hope that this can resonate with a lot of people.
Well, Ben Davies, thank you so much for who you are, for what you do, and for the life you lead. That is a sterling example that you don't have to be polluted by Hollywood, you don't have to be polluted by the entertainment industry, that you can maintain and stay the course, be who you are, and bring a good message for those that are influenced by this kind of entertainment. So thank you. You can follow Ben Davies at @BenDaviesActor on Facebook and at Ben Davies Actor on Twitter. You can follow Because of Gracia, becauseofgracia.com, or hashtag Because of Gracia on Twitter. We thank you, Ben Davies, for being with us and hope that you've made a new friend here at Revealing the Truth, and we'll have you back on anytime you want. Just reach out and we'd love to have you back. So thank you so much for being with us.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Hold on, and we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll bring you the next edition of Revealing the Truth.